Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and let's chat about the single biggest lingering mystery in House of the Dragon. That is the Catspaw Dagger. Now this had massive significance in the main Game of Thrones series, as it has here in House of the Dragon. Just like that, it worked its way around all the characters and went from Aegon down his line to Jaehaerys, to Viserys, and then on to Rhaenyra. The dagger was then taken by Aegon in his father's death, and Aemond now holds it in the wake of Rook's Rest. In the future, we don't know exactly what happened to it, but throughout this video, we're going to give you a rough idea. So come with us as we break down the timeline and go through what the prince who was promised prophecy really means. If you enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns on the show every week. With that out of the way, huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into the prince who was promised prophecy. Now, on the blade itself foreshadows a lot of things in the main series. The prophecy says, "From my blood will come the prince that was promised, and his will be the song of ice and fire." Now in the main series, there were many contenders for that title, such as Stannis, Rhaegar, and Jon Snow. However, it turned out that Arya was the one who stopped the Night King in the end. But whether she was the prince who was promised is something fans still debate over. You see, in High Valyrian, the word prince is actually genderless, and thus it could have been her. It's even possible that it was Jon or Dany, and we could even have a case where it meant two princes. In the end though, we never got the full fleshing out of the revelation, as D&D decided to cut down the season in order to go and work on their Star Wars project. Which, yeah, how's that going?
Wah, wah, wah.
They haven't cleared it up themselves, and if George doesn't finish that book, then we may never get concrete answers on who it was. However, what we are starting to see is why the prophecy wasn't passed along in the first place. The houses are in a massive civil war, and while the Greens have the dagger, the Blacks have the prophecy. Now, the bloodshed of the Dance of the Dragons, that could have been avoided had Aegon's dream been passed down the lineage of Targaryen kings. This is what he intended, and had Alicent not misunderstood what Viserys told her towards the end of season 1, then Westeros would have been prepared. Now in episode 1 of House of the Dragon, Viserys explains, and I quote, "Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. It's to begin with a terrible winter, gusting out of the distant north. Aegon saw absolute darkness riding on those winds, and whatever dwells within will destroy the world of the living. When this great winter comes, Rhaenyra, all of Westeros must stand against it, and if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne, a king or queen, strong enough to unite the realm against the cold and the dark. Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire." Now because of this, we can guess that Aegon foresaw the Battle of the Long Night in Season 8. I'm not sure how he saw it though, because it was pitch black. I remember watching it at like 2 AM and I was like, what the hell's going on here? I've got to write a breakdown on this and I can't see anything. Now it looks alright on the 4K though with the Dolby Vision, but goddamn, at the time, whew, big mistake. Either way, prophecies have appeared throughout the main series, with Bran seeing the explosion of wildfire at the Great Sept of Baelor. In terms of the Targaryens, Dany saw the place she would die at the end of season 2. In the book, we also know that Daenerys Sidrima foresaw doom, and this is what made the family move from Old Valyria before the volcanic eruption. Viserys saw his son sat on the Iron Throne, and Helena's muttered multiple prophecies over the course of 2 seasons. Thus, it is reasonable to presume that Aegon saw what was to come. It's in an era I hope we get on screen at some point, but with the Jon Snow spin-off being cancelled, and Blood Moon even getting a pilot made but then canned, I do highly doubt it. We are, however, getting a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms based on the book of the same name that collects the stories of Dunk and Egg. It's a fantastic read for any Game of Thrones fan, and yeah, we'll obviously be going through that when the trailer releases and then all the episodes come out. This has the potential to flesh out things further, with Little Egg also being a nickname of Aegon Targaryen, and not the two we see in the show. Like, it gets confusing, but there are other Aegons, with him being the 5th. I think it depends if you count the ones that died young. And moving on. Now, along with the prophecy, we also have the Catspaw Dagger. We know that it's made with Valyrian steel along with dragon glass, which is the only thing that can take out a White Walker. Because of this, it makes sense why the Targaryens would have dragon glass on jewelry and ensure each house has a Valyrian blade if Aegon knew what was coming. Now, the book that Sam found in the main series read, "When Aegon the Conqueror forged his 7 kingdoms, he and his descendants would often decorate their blades with dragonglass, feeling a kinship with the stone. The royal fashion for dragonglass ornamentation soon spread throughout the 7 kingdoms to those wealthy enough to afford it. Hilts and pommel were and are the most common decoration for dragonglass if too brittle to make a useful crossguard. Indeed, its very brittleness is what relegates it to the great houses and the most successful merchants." Now the dagger made its debut in the show in episode 2 of Game of Thrones when the assassin sent to kill Bran used it as a weapon. Catelyn then defended Bran, but she was sliced by the dagger itself. Now this mirrors Rhaenyra defending her son against Alicent in episode 7 of House of the Dragon after Aemond's eye was taken. This part is vitally important as the prophecy states, "From my blood comes the prince that was promised." The blood is on the blade, and Jon Snow, who many thought would become Azor Ahai Reborn, can trace his blood via his father Rhaegar all the way back to Rhaenyra. This is why his lineage was an earth-shattering reveal during the flashback to the Tower of Joy and Lyanna Stark's marriage. Dany was also born of smoke and salt, which is said how Azor Ahai, another name for the prince who was promised, would end up being born. So the prince who was promised is potentially both of them due to the genderless meaning of prince in High Valyrian. Now after the attack on Bran, Catelyn then intends to take the dagger to King's Landing to investigate it further. This began the downfall of Ned and led to him losing his head. At King's Landing, we learned the dagger was indeed owned by Littlefinger, despite saying that he lost it to Tyrion. That last sentence led Catelyn to accuse Tyrion of hiring the assassin, but in the book we learned it was actually Joffrey. It's thought that, in reaction to hearing Robert Baratheon talking about how Bran would be crippled, that he thought it would be more humane to kill him. Everyone was kind of a suspect though, and it was even thought Littlefinger might have been behind it. Now he ended up giving Bran the dagger, and this was in order to try and gain his trust. Littlefinger's constantly manipulated people by trying to get them to like him, and this is why he handed it over in the end. Bran then gave it to Arya, while Ned got justice from beyond the grave as Littlefinger was put on trial. His crimes included killing Lisa Arryn, conspiring with Cersei against Ned, and being complicit in the attempt on Bran's life. He would be killed by Arya using the same blade, which was a poetic way to end the character's life. After that, it was used to stop the Night King, and Arya would then head off to be a pirate queen or adventurer or whatever it is. Who knows, but no spin-offs yet. Now in House of the Dragon, Aegon had the blade only to lose control of it after getting injured at the Battle of Rook's Rest. Carrying Aegon the Conqueror's blade makes him seem more akin to a leader, and I do wonder if he managed to read the secret inscription. The blade would have been burning hot around the forest, and as he's shown, the guy's been on Duolingo and is highly fluent in High Valyrian. I doubt Aegon would even know what the writing meant if he saw it, as the guy's been slacking on learning the language. Aemond would though, and Alicent now knows of the prophecy as Rhaenyra's explained it to her. So potentially they could be laying the groundwork there, and there's also an interesting parallel between Aemond and the other pretenders. This might spoil some big parts of the book and will likely be something major in the show. So if you don't want to know what happens, then thank you for sticking with me, and I hope to see you on one of our big breakdowns on the episode. Be nice talking to you, mate, and thanks for all the support. I love you. Anyway, Alice Rivers has been a mystical character in the show, and she's very much aligned with Melisandre in the main series. She was someone who aligned with the prince who was promised and was trying to help carry out the prophecy. Aemond in the book ends up having a relationship with Alice, and she's seen as the character's paramour. The pair even had a child together, but at the end of the book, this child's fate's unknown. So the prophecy might play into it in some way, with Alice potentially even learning of it. She could then spread it around the other witches, and then Melisandre could learn about it as well. Has to find out some way, I guess, and I think that would be a cool way to tie it all together. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, so make sure you drop them in the comments section below. Please hit the thumbs up if you've learned something as well, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. You'll get early access to videos every week, and it goes a massive way towards helping us out. If you want to get some heavy spoilers merch, we've also got our t-shirt line located just below the video that will let you pick up all kinds of tops like our Thieves Daemon, House of the Dragon stuff, Marvel tees, The Boys, Aliens, Star Wars and more. Huge thank you to everyone who's picked one up, and hopefully you've enjoyed looking amazing, mate. Now if you want something else to watch, you've got our big breakdown of episode 5 on screen right now. Gone over loads of stuff in that, lots of Easter eggs, and hopefully I see you over there right after this. Well, out of the way, huge thank you for sitting through the video. I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Shabow, shabow, shabow. One prince, Bethany Azor Ahai, Adewetete, two prince, Bethany on the throne, that's what I said now. Princes who are related, just go ahead now. One has dragon glass in his pocket.